We stood by Ethan when he made a boring podcast that would fry your brain cells. We couldn't care less when he blatantly plagiarized other people's artworks. We ignored his clearly fake stories about people we don't like taking advantage of women. We looked past him threatening to bomb the NRA. But now that he's denied giving his blessing to nuke a whole country, honestly, he's gone too far. H3H3 is a man that needs no introduction, so let's skip over that. But how did we get here? Ethan's character arc has spanned many seasons. He has lived through a true rags to riches plotline. While Season 1 had a clear motive to make you laugh, Season 14 feels like the writers are spinning their wheels, having Ethan crash out until the plot finds itself once again. However, you can trace this plot thread being introduced once Ethan realized that he can make more money by putting in less effort. Hence, the H3 podcast was born.
Welcome everybody to the first episode of the H3 podcast. We're so happy to have you here and we're so excited to bring this show to you guys today.
And as I've explained in a video before, Ethan ripped out the second H3 from his branding to let the audience know that it is no longer time to laugh and that they're about to enter the third layer of hell, which ironically enough was gluttony. Why do you think he keeps on working with people he can't stand? From demoting Hila, his co-host, to be his wife, since she couldn't fill the role properly, fattening up Trisha Paytas to a pyrocynical degree, but that lolcow had escaped the H3 compound before she could be fully milked, leading him to realize he needed less carbs in his diet, so he set his eyes on something less Hila but more halal. My theory is that he was slowly increasing the temperature in his studio, and I don't just mean metaphorically, until his co-host was ready to be devoured. Hassan, realizing he couldn't freely promote his terrorist brothers because Ethan, for some reason, isn't a fan of them, had to gracefully drop out. But why would these seemingly two best friends start throwing nukes at each other? The simplest way I can explain this is through anime. You see, Hassan started watching One Piece solely through YouTube Shorts, and now thinks Luffy, the main character, is the villain because he's toppling the ruling class, aka the characters that Hassan relates to the most. While Ethan is more of a Hunter x Hunter fan and just wants to discuss the two shows, but Hassan doesn't want any of that and just wants Ethan to agree with his power scaling takes. In this episode, Hassan finds out a dark secret Ethan has been keeping from him and his audience. In this moment, Hassan realizes that Ethan is Jewish. Ethan's biggest career mistake was no longer mocking people who are most regarded for their mental uniqueness. You see, back in his youth, he had a whole rogues gallery of goons and gooners he would point and laugh at for financial gain. All these people were clearly unstable, and his audience wouldn't have had it any other way. Why do you think he could never properly address people like Turkey Tom or Abba and Preach? These were not high IQ folks. No, to Ethan, they were something worse. They were regular people. So he couldn't actually respond to them, but he couldn't say that outright. So he just labeled them as Nazis. Essentially, Ethan went from the top of the mental pyramid to the bottom of it. But now, he's found himself on the top of a new pyramid. Now that a new group of insane people have cropped up, Ethan, by comparison, can seem more relatable and human again. Many scholars have dubbed this whole E-war between the E-celebs as a gold mine, as they now have a non-stop wave of content to cry and piss about each other while gaining AdSense and other shekels. Ethan, just like everyone else who criticizes Hassan, only keeps talking about him because clearly his mortgage payment is coming up. Ethan is probably only in the bottom tier millionaire status. We're talking about low 7 figures here. He's basically a brokey compared to Hsssan. Hsssan donates more to Frogan's meal plan than Ethan can make in a lifetime. Just look at Ethan's weight loss. Clearly the look of a man who can only afford one breakfast, lunch, and dinner a day. What Ethan doesn't understand is that Hsssan does not know how to actually insult someone properly. You need to be smart and clever to know how to throw an insult, which Hsssan just isn't. We watch him because he shows us every day that if someone like him can be popular and rich while being devoid from reality, the rest of us really have a chance too. So from Hsssan's audience POV, it just seems like Ethan is picking on a child stuck in a man's body. All those complaining about picking on children just haven't done it themselves, because it's the easiest win you could get. And thankfully, his audience would never go after kids. In the podcast that Hsssan co-hosts with Cutie Cinderella, I believe it's called Wine 11, he goes through his meticulous and 100% win tactic, which is to be disingenuous, deflect, and then goon, or what his audience dubs as DDG for short. Call whoever he's against a liar, deflect all blame, and then stroke himself and say that he can't be wrong because he looks good. So whenever he brings up DDG, this is what he's actually talking about. And it's been working out fine so far for him. I have a wild theory, but after torturing myself by watching hundreds of hours of the H3 podcast, I think Ethan has a problem against terrorism. I know it's a wild take, but hear me out. He just doesn't seem to be picking up what they're dropping down. I'd love to see his defense on this. Remember how he tried defending his clothing company from plagiarizing other people's artworks? Jamie, play the clip. Now, imagine his response to terrorism, which is only slightly worse than plagiarism. The crash out has started to affect his content now too. The main problem with his content nuke was that it was a little too factual for my liking. Ethan, Bubby, the same reason you don't like him is the same reasons his audience eats him up. We know he's crazy. So are we. If we wanted to watch a political streamer that wasn't insane, we wouldn't watch any of them. Being insane is a prerequisite. If you wanted to have that video to have any impact, you'd prove that he was far worse than a racist or anti-Semite to his people. You had to prove that he was cringe. The same reason why iDubbbz' content cop on you won't have any impact is because no one wants to be lectured. The crash out has had such a mental toll that he wanted iDubbbz, of all people, to defend him. Ian can barely defend himself, and you thought he would be a great first line of defense? F in the chat for this bum. Ethan's biggest point that he tries to sell you is that he has nothing against Arabs. Except what he doesn't know is that I have Jake Doo-Doo Little's leaked DMs that he was ready to expose other YouTubers with. Jake begged and pleaded to be Ethan's newest whipping boy, and here's what Ethan responded with. Hey Jake, I've seen all your videos. Each one of them is amazing in their own way. You're an inspiration, and I love you, man. I would love to hire you, but I warn you, if you walk into my office with a hijab, you'll be leaving with no job. And sadly enough, Jake was mysteriously never hired. I always thought it was because he had no exceptional skill or talent, but it's so obvious it's because of his race. And now, all this unk-on-unk violence has led to where we are today. The current plotline. The terminally deranged calling CPS on Ethan's kids because he won't agree with their opinions. The question I keep asking people on the streets about this is why. If you think about this, it was actually a very valid and reasonable thing to do. Ethan constantly brings up how much he loves his kids, meaning that they are his drive, his life force. If they are the ones making him act up like this, Theodore, Simon, Alvin. They've been the ones pulling the strings all along. They were there at the start of the drop-off in quality in 2017. And to go even farther, when Hilo was forced to join the IDF, it was them controlling her fallopian tubes like an N64 controller. And if you disagree with any of this, I guess you're just pro-genocide.
All of this, falling apart like this, is on you.
Wow. Wow. Oh, that's some kind of logic right there, Mike. Why don't you walk me through this, Mike?
We had a good thing, you stupid son of a bitch.
We had football, we had vape nights, we had spicy memes.
We had everything we needed. It all ran like clockwork. You could have shut your mouth, cooked, and made as much money as you ever needed. It was perfect, but no.
We just had to invite crazy people to co-host your shows.
You and your pride and your ego. You just had to be the man. If you'd done your job, known your place, we'd all be fine right now.